Welcome to today's deep dive. Today is Tuesday, March 3, 2026, and well, we have a mission today that feels genuinely urgent.
It really does. It's a heavy one today.
Yeah, if you are joining us, we normally explore the mechanics behind fascinating systems or complex scientific breakthroughs, but today the system we're exploring is actively hunting people.
Right. We are unpacking a set of research notes titled Eighth Day Digital Arrest, the Psychological Mechanics of Cyber Fraud.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core premise here is something that feels like it's ripped straight out of a dystopian techno thriller, but it's happening right now, constantly.
To thousands of people.
Exactly. We're talking about a scam so meticulously designed, so incredibly psychologically manipulative, that it completely paralyzes highly educated people.
Doctors, senior engineers, corporate executives.
Right, people who navigate complex digital landscapes every single day.
Mm.
Yet they are falling victim to what is widely known as the digital arrest scam.
It's a modern nightmare. And to truly understand the mechanics of how it functions, we really have to start by establishing the golden rule.
The baseline truth.
Exactly. This is the absolute core truth of the source material we are examining today, and the notes phrase it perfectly. Quote, Police kabi video call pe arrest nahi karti.
Which translates to...
Police never arrest you on a video call. Ever.
Right. Never.
These so-called digital arrests are 100% fraud. Every single time.
No exceptions.
Zero. And what we're going to do today is look at this not just as a standard nuisance phone scheme, but as what it truly is beneath the surface.
Which is a psychological operation.
Exactly. It's a meticulously crafted psychological operation. It's a targeted attack on the human mind's threat detection systems.
And that is exactly why you need to care about this deep dive. You might be listening to this right now driving to work or making breakfast, thinking, I'm a rational person.
I know how to spot a phishing email.
Right. I would never fall for a scam call. But this deep dive will arm you with the psychological defenses required to recognize when someone is actively trying to hijack your brain's most primal survival instincts.
Because this isn't about whether you are intelligent or foolish.
Not at all. It's entirely about how the human brain processes sudden information overload and paralyzing panic.
By the time we finish this analysis, you will have a complete map of these psychological mechanics.
Ensuring you never fall victim to this specific kind of emotional ambush.
Ambush is the precise terminology we should be using because that is exactly how the initial contact is structured.
They don't just ease into it?
No, it's designed to hit you when you are entirely undefended in your safest environment.
Let's paint a vivid picture of this initial contact for you, taking it step by step from the source notes. Because the banality of the setup is actually what makes the ambush so effective.
The contrast is jarring.
It is. Imagine this scenario. It's a regular Tuesday. You are at work looking at a spreadsheet, or maybe you're at home having your morning coffee, thinking about your grocery list.
You're at baseline.
Completely at baseline. Your smartphone rings. It's an unknown number, or perhaps a number that has been spoofed to look somewhat official.
So you answer it.
You answer it.
Yeah.
You're expecting maybe a delivery driver's lost or a colleague calling from a different branch. You are certainly not expecting a war zone.
Right.
But instead of a casual greeting, you hear this incredibly serious, stern, authoritative voice. And this voice immediately claims to be calling from the cybercrime branch.
And before your brain can even process what the cybercrime branch is or why they would be calling you, the voice drops an absolute bomb into your reality.
A total shock to the system.
They state, with unyielding conviction, that your personal Aadhaar identity number, your core government ID, and your personal mobile number have been found directly linked to severe high-level illegal activities.
Notice the architecture of that opening move right there.
There is no preamble.
None. There is no, hello, am I speaking with so-and-so? They immediately introduce catastrophic, high-stakes consequences.
They inform you that you are already implicated in a major crime. This is the shock phase.
The goal here is to spike your cortisol instantly.
Yes. Your stomach drops, your heart rate violently spikes, you go from baseline to maximum alert in 3 seconds.
Before you can even take a breath to ask a logical question, before you can even say, wait, what are you talking about?
The scammer makes an immediate, highly calculated pivot.
They don't let you hang up to call a lawyer?
No, they don't tell you to come down to the local police precinct to sort this out, which is what a real investigation would do.
Exactly. Instead, they demand right then and there that you join a WhatsApp video call or a Skype call for what they term video verification.
It's a brilliant piece of phrasing, really.
Video verification, it sounds procedural.
It sounds official. It sounds like something you just need to do quickly to clear up this terrifying misunderstanding.
What's fascinating here is the absolute brilliance, and I use that word purely in a tactical sense, of the visual trap they are setting the moment you accept that call.
Because our source material points out that when the victim connects to this WhatsApp video call, they aren't looking at some stereotype of a scammer.
They aren't looking at a guy in a dark, messy basement wearing a hoodie.
The second that video connects, the victim sees what looks entirely 100% like a legitimate, official law enforcement environment.
The visual illusion is immediate, and it is overwhelmingly convincing.
Let's break down the specific props mentioned in the notes, because they are essentially building a movie set designed for an audience of one.
You click Join Video, the screen buffers for a second, and suddenly you are staring at a person sitting behind a desk wearing a crisp, official-looking police uniform.
It has the epaulets, the badges, the right colors.
Right behind them on the wall is the official Indian national emblem. It looks like a government office.
There are thick, imposing-looking legal files stacked neatly on the desk in front of them.
And just to absolutely seal the deal, the person on the screen swiftly flashes an official-looking ID card right up to the camera lens.
They hold it there for just a second.
Long enough for you to see a photo and a seal, but not long enough for you to read the fine print.
It hits you with an avalanche of visual cues that scream absolute authority.
And this is exactly where we have to critically separate the objective reality from the victim's manipulated perception.
Because those two things are miles apart.
They really are. If we step back and look at the actual reality behind this terrifying illusion you are staring at on your phone screen, it almost sounds absurd.
That crisp, intimidating police uniform, you can literally buy those online for a few dollars.
Anyone with an internet connection can order one to their house.
That highly official ID card they flashed, it's completely fabricated.
It was likely knocked together in basic photo editing software in about 10 minutes.
Am I someone who barely knows how to use the clone stamp tool?
And that imposing, deeply official background with the national emblem and the stark police station walls.
It is literally just a green screen.
A digital background overlay on a video call.
It's functionally no more real than the beach background or the blurred library background you use to hide your messy bedroom during a corporate Monday morning meeting.
Objectively, yes. If you were looking at it in a calm state of mind, on a high-definition monitor, you would probably spot the flaws.
You might notice the poor Photoshop on the ID badge.
Or the slightly pixelated edges around the officer's hair, where the green screen algorithm is failing to perfectly mask the background.
But the tragedy of this scam is that the victim cannot see those flaws.
And there is a deeply ingrained evolutionary psychological mechanism dictating exactly why they can't.
It's a biological override.
Right. When a human being is struck by sudden, intense fear, like being unexpectedly told by a stern voice that they are the prime suspect in a massive international cybercrime, their amygdala completely takes over.
The amygdala being the brain's fear and threat process in the center.
Exactly. When it detects an existential threat, it essentially hijacks the prefrontal cortex.
The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for logical processing, critical thinking, skepticism, and complex decision-making.
In a moment of sheer terror, the logical brain literally powers down.
It shuts off to conserve energy for a primal fight, flight, or freeze response.
The brain decides that right now is not the time for careful analysis. It's the time for immediate survival action.
And in that state of panic, the brain relies entirely on visual heuristics.
Visual heuristics. So just to clarify for everyone listening, a heuristic is essentially a mental shortcut, right?
A way for the brain to process information instantly without having to think about it.
It's a rule of thumb hardwired into our cognition.
The brain doesn't have the bandwidth, the time, or the operational capacity in that terrified moment to analyze the lighting on the video feed.
Or check for watermarks on the ID card.
Or question the logic of a police officer using WhatsApp.
The heuristic fires instantly.
Uniform equals authority.
National emblem equals government power.
Stern tone of voice equals danger.
Therefore, I am in terrible trouble, and I must obey to survive.
The critical thinking that would normally protect you from a poorly photoshopped image is completely bypassed by the combination of the visual illusion and the biological response to sudden manufactured fear.
That is just terrifying to contemplate. It's like they have figured out a backdoor exploit into the human operating system.
They aren't hacking your phone. They are hacking your biology.
And what makes this even more insidious, according to the source material, is that the scammers do not just wing this part.
They don't just put on the fake uniform, jump on the video call and make things up as they go along, depending on how you react.
They have a script. They possess a highly tested, deeply refined, psychologically weaponized playbook of nightmares.
The scripted nature of this operation is crucial to understanding its high success rate.
These are not random stories cobbled together.
They are narratives that have been A/B tested in the real world on thousands of victims.
The notes outline that the scammers generally rely on a core set of 3 to 4 specific, highly cultivated scenarios to trap you.
They run through these scenarios like a flowchart.
Let's do a deep dive into these 4 specific scenarios outlined in the source, because this is where the theoretical meets the practical.
If you know the script, you can spot the play before it ruins your life.
Scenario number 1 is what the source calls the illegal parcel case.
This is incredibly common.
The fake officer on the screen looks you dead in the eye, checks a fake file on his desk, and claims that a parcel bearing your exact name and your exact home address has been intercepted by customs.
They usually claim it is coming from a location known for complex international shipping, very often Taiwan.
And then they drop the hammer.
Customs opened this parcel, and they found it stuffed with illegal drugs.
Sometimes they mention illegal passports or weapons, but usually it's drugs.
They tell you that you are now implicated in an international narcotics smuggling ring.
Now, consider the immediate psychological impact of Scenario 1.
It specifically targets the primal fear of severe, inescapable prison time.
International drug smuggling laws are notoriously harsh and unforgiving.
Even if you know logically that you did not order a box of narcotics from Taiwan, the sheer weight of the accusation makes you question reality.
Because it's delivered by someone in a uniform with your exact details.
You start thinking, how did my name get on it?
What if someone framed me?
How do I prove I didn't do something I have no knowledge of?
The hopelessness of defending yourself against a foreign jurisdiction creates immediate panic.
It's the Kafkaesque nightmare of having to prove a negative.
You didn't do it, but how do you prove you didn't do it when the police are telling you the evidence already exists?
That brings us to Scenario 2, which is the money laundering case.
In this one, they pivot from physical contraband to digital finance.
They accuse you, point blank, of having your personal bank account deeply linked to major hawala networks.
Now, for anyone unfamiliar, hawala is an ancient, informal, and in many jurisdictions, illegal method of transferring money.
It relies on a network of brokers where value is transferred without any physical money or wire transfers actually crossing borders.
It leaves virtually no paper trail.
Which is why it is frequently used in massive money laundering operations, tax evasion, and even the funding of organized crime or terrorism.
The scammer looks at you and says, "We have traced millions of rupees of illegal hawala money flowing through an account tied to your Aadhaar number."
They tell you your life savings are going to be seized as part of a crackdown on an international crime syndicate.
This scenario is a surgical strike on a completely different vulnerability.
The fear of sudden, total financial ruin.
Most people spend their entire lives working to build a small perimeter of financial security.
To be suddenly told that the government is going to freeze every penny you have ever earned.
And that you might be charged with financial terrorism.
It induces a unique kind of existential dread.
It threatens your ability to feed your family, pay your mortgage, and survive in the modern world.
It's a complete dismantling of your safety net in one sentence.
Then there's Scenario 3, which the source identifies as SIM card fraud.
This one is so insidious because it preys on an anxiety we all already carry.
The officer claims that under your specific Aadhaar number, 17 different mobile SIM cards have been issued in various states.
And they aren't just sitting in a drawer.
The officer tells you these 17 numbers are actively being used right now to commit cybercrimes, harass people, or run extortion rackets across the country.
You are suddenly hit with the creeping dread of complete identity theft.
You feel like there are 17 digital clones of you out there, actively ruining your life and committing crimes in your name while you were just sitting at your desk drinking coffee.
Identity theft is the boogeyman of the digital age.
We all secretly worry our data is out there, compromised in some corporate data breach we read about in the news.
This scenario confirms that underlying chronic nightmare.
It tells the victim, your worst fear has already happened, and you're being held legally responsible for the fallout.
It creates a profound sense of violation and helplessness.
And finally, we have Scenario 4, which is the court case threat.
This is often layered on top of the other scenarios to escalate the pressure.
They tell you that this isn't just a local police matter that you can clear up with a quick conversation.
They claim this is a high-level Supreme Court-monitored investigation.
And here's the real kicker. They threaten that if you do not cooperate with them right this second, all the details of your supposed crimes, the drugs, the hawala money, the cyber extortion, are going to be immediately leaked directly to the national media.
They threaten to put your face on every news channel in the country as a criminal mastermind.
That is pure psychological warfare, targeting our deep-seated social conditioning.
It targets the fear of public shaming and the complete, irreversible destruction of social reputation.
For many professionals, their reputation is their livelihood.
The thought of their colleagues, their family, their neighbors, seeing them branded as a criminal on national television is a fate almost worse than jail.
If we take a step back and analyze the why behind these specific stories, we can see exactly what the architects of this scam are aiming for.
They are not trying to convince you of a nuanced, legally sound argument.
A lawyer would tear these stories apart in seconds.
But they aren't talking to a lawyer. They're talking to a panicked civilian.
They are trying to elicit three very specific, overwhelming emotional reactions.
Shock, panic, and importantly, a false sense of guilt.
That false sense of guilt is what really caught my attention in the notes. It is so manipulative.
Even though you absolutely know, as a fact, that you did not order illegal drugs from Taiwan or launder millions through a hawala broker.
Just being accused of it with such absolute, unwavering certainty by an authority figure makes you feel immediately defensive.
It makes you feel strangely guilty, like you have to justify your existence.
It's the psychological equivalent of being pulled over by a police car while driving.
Even if you know your registration is valid, you know you aren't speeding, and you know you haven't done anything wrong.
The moment those lights flash in your rearview mirror, your heart skips a beat.
You immediately start wondering, did I miss a stop sign? Is a taillight out?
You default to assuming you must have done something wrong to warrant the attention of the authority figure.
These scammers are weaponizing that exact reflex on a massive, life-ruining scale.
Every single script they use is a precision-guided missile aimed straight at the foundational pillars of a person's security.
Their physical freedom, their financial stability, their digital identity, and their social reputation.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Once they have you reeling from these nightmare scenarios,
Once they have effectively demolished your baseline reality, they begin deploying what the source notes explicitly call the dark psychology of compliance.
they have softened up your defenses with shock and fear. Now they're going to force you to actively obey them.
They need you pliable.
And the first major tactic they use to achieve this is authority bias.
Authority bias is a well-documented, powerful psychological phenomenon.
Humans are naturally, socially, and evolutionarily conditioned to respect, fear, and obey authority figures.
This isn't a character flaw. It is how functioning societies are built.
From the time we are toddlers, we are taught to listen to our parents.
Then our teachers.
And the police.
And to defer to the judgment of courts and judges.
We are programmed to believe that authority figures hold the monopoly on truth and consequence.
When a person wearing a police uniform looks at you through a screen, sits beneath a national emblem, and threatens you with arrest,
Your brain defaults to decades of conditioned obedience.
as we discussed earlier, you enter survival mode.
And the cardinal rule of survival mode in a hierarchical society is obey the person holding the power.
And the source outlines exactly the kind of terrifying, heavy-handed legal threats they use to trigger this bias and keep you pinned down in that survival mode.
They don't just vaguely say, you're in big trouble.
They use highly specific, frightening terminology designed to sound insurmountable.
They tell you with absolute coldness that a non-bailable warrant has been issued for your immediate arrest.
Now, let's just pause on that phrase, non-bailable.
For the average citizen, that phrase implies absolute doom.
It implies immediate, inescapable physical confinement.
It means you aren't going to be able to call a friend to post bail and sleep in your own bed tonight.
It means you are going into a cell right now.
Then they start quoting penal codes.
They threaten you with Section 420 for cheating and severe fraud.
They throw around Section 120B for criminal conspiracy, implying you are part of an organized syndicate.
They even threaten to permanently block your passport and freeze your travel rights.
Cutting off any hope of escape or even the ability to travel for work.
And this highlights a massive structural vulnerability that the scammers rely on entirely.
The asymmetry of information.
The vast majority of everyday citizens do not have formal legal training.
They have not been to law school.
They do not know the exact tedious procedural steps required for how a non-bailable warrant is actually drafted,
Or approved by a magistrate.
or physically served by an officer in jurisdiction.
They do not know the specific legal criteria required to charge someone under Section 120B.
The victim's lack of formal, granular legal knowledge is the exact operational gap the scammer exploits.
Because the victim doesn't know any better.
And because their logical brain is currently offline due to panic.
These heavy-handed, jargon-filled threats seem entirely legitimate and overwhelmingly perilous.
It's like the scammers are speaking a terrifying foreign language where you only recognize a few words.
And every word you do recognize means you are going to jail.
You can't debate them because you don't know the vocabulary.
And that actually bridges perfectly into the second compliance tactic outlined in the notes.
Which is cognitive overload.
It's not just the severity of the threats, it's the sheer volume and density of the complicated, bureaucratic jargon they relentlessly throw at you.
Listen to the barrage of terms scammers deliberately deploy during these calls, as meticulously noted by our source material.
They don't just say the local police are looking into it.
They tell you the enforcement director at the premier financial investigation agency is involved.
They say the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, is actively monitoring your accounts in real time.
They mention an Interpol Red Notice alert has been drafted.
They claim the Financial Intelligence Unit is analyzing your assets.
And that your entire digital life is currently under complete digital surveillance.
It is a deliberate, calculated flood of information.
This strategy of cognitive overload is designed to completely overwhelm your brain's working memory.
Cognitive science tells us that the human brain can only hold and process a very limited number of concepts in its working memory at any given time.
Often referred to as Miller's Law.
Which suggests we can hold about 7 ± 2 items.
When you're under extreme stress, that capacity shrinks even further.
I see where this is going.
It's like a computer server getting hit with a distributed denial of service attack, a DDoS attack.
If you send too many complex requests to a server all at once, the processor maxes out.
It can't handle the traffic.
And the entire system just crashes and freezes up.
That is exactly what it is, but applied to human neurobiology.
It is a psychological denial of service attack.
When they rapidly stack the enforcement directorate on top of an Interpol Red Notice,
on top of RBI monitoring,
on top of Section 420,
your brain simply cannot process that much complex, highly threatening information simultaneously.
the processor maxes out.
The purpose of this cognitive overload is to severely confuse you.
To keep you perpetually off balance so that you cannot form a single coherent thought.
It completely prevents you from pausing, taking a breath, and asking logical questions like, wait, why would Interpol care about a single FedEx parcel?
Ultimately, the goal is to bring you entirely under their control.
Because when your brain gives up trying to understand the paralyzing complexity of the situation, it defaults to the path of least resistance.
Simply doing whatever the confident authority figure on the screen tells you to do to make the confusion stop.
They are literally drowning your rational mind in a sea of bureaucratic terror.
And once your rational mind is drowning,
Once you have surrendered to their authority just to survive the moment,
they pull you into what I can only describe as a mind control chamber.
this brings us to a phase of the source material that details the absolute most dangerous step of the entire scam.
If they achieve this step, they almost always win.
This is the isolation technique.
Once they have you terrified, confused, and compliant, they lay down strict, non-negotiable rules of physical and social confinement.
The isolation is the linchpin of the entire fraudulent operation.
It is the structural support.
Without the isolation, the illusion is incredibly fragile and shatters easily.
The scammers deliver these rules rapidly and aggressively, giving you no time to object.
Rule 1. If you cut this call for any reason, we will consider you a fleeing suspect and immediately dispatch the physical arrest team to your current location.
Rule 2. This is a matter of strict national security. If you tell anyone, if you text your spouse, if you call your parents, if you alert your friends, the case gets exponentially more serious.
They will be considered co-conspirators and they will be arrested too.
Rule 3. You must keep your smartphone camera on at all times so we can maintain visual surveillance.
And Rule 4, the most critical physical command. You must go sit alone in a closed room, lock the door, and isolate yourself immediately.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we can see terrifying parallels between this isolation technique and actual documented interrogation or even brainwashing methods used by cults.
Or in hostile interrogations.
The fundamental goal here is to sever the victim from any external reality anchors.
Think about it. Human beings regulate their emotions and their understanding of reality socially.
We look to others to confirm if a situation is normal or dangerous.
If the victim could just talk to their spouse or their colleague for 30 seconds,
The spouse who is not flooded with adrenaline, whose prefrontal cortex is fully functional, would instantly recognize the absurdity of the situation.
they would say, "The police don't call on WhatsApp. This is a scam. Hang up the phone."
The scammers know this perfectly well.
The victim's social network is the biggest threat to the scam.
By forcing the victim into a room alone, locking the door, keeping the camera on, and holding the threat of immediate arrest over their head, they create an artificial, closed-loop reality.
In this fabricated bubble, the scammer is the absolute master of the universe.
And their narrative is the only truth that exists.
And what makes this isolation so incredibly devastating is the duration.
The source notes highlight that this is not a quick 10-minute shakedown.
This isn't a mugging in an alleyway.
The duration of these calls is staggering.
These video calls can sometimes last 3 to 4 continuous hours.
4 hours of being trapped in a room, staring at a screen, being told your life is over.
I want you and everyone listening to truly consider the biological and psychological toll of what happens to the human mind over a 4-hour, high-stress, terror-inducing video call.
Where you genuinely believe your life, your freedom, and your reputation are effectively over.
The human body is not designed to sustain peak panic for 4 hours.
The sustained release of cortisol and adrenaline over that time frame is profoundly exhausting.
Both physically and mentally,
The victim experiences a biological crash.
they approach a state of near emotional breakdown.
Any remaining shred of rational decision-making, any slight skepticism they might have held on to in the first 20 minutes, completely evaporates under the sheer attrition of the process.
It's a war of attrition on your sanity.
Exactly. By hour 3, the victim is no longer thinking about Taiwan parcels or Interpol red notices or Hawala networks.
Those details have faded into a blur of general terror.
Their sole focus, their entire universe, narrows down to one primal, desperate desire.
Simply wanting the immediate, agonizing psychological pressure of this problem to go away.
They just want the pain to stop.
They just want to wake up from the nightmare.
And that moment, that exact second of total exhaustion and desperation, is exactly when the trap snaps shut.
That is when the architects of this scam execute their final maneuver.
After hours of breaking you down, of telling you that you are going to jail, that your family will be shamed, and that your life is ruined,
The scammers miraculously pivot.
they change their tone.
They suddenly offer a solution, a lifeline out of the drowning pool.
It is the classic, deeply manipulative abuser dynamic.
They artificially create the intense trauma, they push you to the brink of despair, and then, brilliantly and cruelly, they offer themselves as the sole source of relief from that very trauma.
Suddenly, the monster becomes the savior.
That dynamic is so clear here, the fake police officer on the screen will suddenly soften their stern voice.
They will lean in and say, listen, looking at your file, we can see there's a chance you might be innocent.
It's possible your identity was stolen.
But procedure is procedure.
For your own safety, and for our official verification process to clear your name, we need to temporarily freeze and audit your assets to ensure they aren't tied to the Hawala syndicates.
They then demand that your funds be transferred entirely to what they call a safe government account, so the RBI or the Supreme Court can verify that the money is legally obtained.
And again, notice how they rely on that cognitive overload and complex bureaucratic terminology to legitimize the actual theft.
They do not say, send your money to my personal bank account.
If they said that, even an exhausted brain might flag it as fraud.
Right. The notes list the specific, highly official-sounding terms they use to cloak the theft in legitimacy.
They will tell you to transfer your life savings to an RBI monitoring account.
Or an escrow account managed by the High Court.
Or a Supreme Court central audit account.
Or my absolute favorite piece of dark corporate jargon, a refundable security deposit to halt the execution of the non-bailable warrant.
It sounds so incredibly procedural and official.
And what is truly staggering is how completely adaptable they are regarding how you actually pay them.
The source mentions they will demand standard bank transfers, immediate UPI payments,
Direct cryptocurrency transfers to anonymous wallets.
and sometimes, absurdly, even digital gift cards.
The mention of digital gift cards is crucial to analyze.
Objectively, the idea of the Supreme Court of India or Interpol clearing a criminal warrant in exchange for Apple or Google Play gift cards is absurd.
It should immediately signal fraud to a rational mind.
But remember the condition of the victim. We must have empathy for the state they're in.
The victim has been psychologically tortured, isolated, and cognitively overloaded for hours.
Their rational mind is completely offline. They are operating on pure survival instinct.
And the authority figure has just told them this absurd method is the only way to survive.
And this leads us to the ultimate, most cruel lie of the entire operation, which the source material emphasizes heavily.
To remove the absolute final barrier of hesitation, that moment when the victim's finger is hovering over the transfer button and they realize they are about to send away their life savings.
The scammer makes a solemn, authoritative promise.
They look the victim in the eye through the camera and say, "Do not worry. This is purely procedural."
After the verification is complete in a few hours, every single rupee of this money will be safely returned to your original account.
It's the promise of a reset button. Do this, and everything goes back to normal.
But the reality, as the notes state with absolute devastating clarity,
That money never, ever comes back.
the second you hit that transfer button, the second the crypto clears the blockchain, your life savings are gone forever.
They vanish into a labyrinth of international crypto wallets, money mules, and offshore accounts.
The safe government RBI account was a lie.
The stern officer was a lie.
The official backdrop was a lie.
The whole 4-hour, sweat-inducing, tear-filled nightmare was an elaborate, scripted stage play designed with one single purpose.
To make you willingly, frantically hand over everything you own.
It is a devastating, world-shattering realization for the victim when the call finally ends.
The adrenaline crashes and the illusion inevitably breaks.
When they finally walk out of that isolated room and tell their spouse what just happened, the realization of the manipulation hits them.
The psychological trauma of realizing you were manipulated so completely often outlasts the financial ruin.
The feeling of violation is profound.
This is why understanding the intricate mechanics of this fraud is not just about keeping your bank accounts safe.
It is fundamentally about protecting your psychological well-being and your sense of reality.
Which brings us perfectly to the core purpose of our deep dive today.
We have examined the weapon. Now we're going to forge the shield.
We're going to give you the reality check and the practical listener toolkit.
The source material lays out a specific preventative system of defense.
And honestly, this is the kind of mental armor we all need to internalize in the modern digital age.
I am going to read these foundational facts clearly. I want you to engrave these 4 absolute facts into your mind.
They are your anchor.
Number 1. Police never investigate complex crimes over WhatsApp or Skype video calls, period. It is not protocol.
Number 2, police never ask you to transfer money to them, to a safe account, or to an auditor.
Number 3, police never take online fines or security deposits to help you avoid an active arrest warrant. Warrants do not work like that.
Number 4, the Supreme Court, the CBI, the ED, and Interpol never conduct official legal hearings or interrogations over consumer apps like Google Meet or WhatsApp.
Those 4 facts are your absolute anchor to objective reality.
If your phone rings and anyone on the other end, whether it is an audio call or a video screen, violates even one of those 4 facts,
You were speaking to a criminal. Full stop.
there is no nuance. There is no exception.
And to build on that foundational reality, our source material outlines a vital 5-step safety toolkit.
This is your immediate action plan if you ever find yourself on the receiving end of the shock phase of one of these calls.
Let's walk through this toolkit because it is essentially a step-by-step guide to breaking their psychological hold.
Step 1, and the source emphasizes this above all else: cut the call immediately.
This sounds simple, but psychologically, it is the hardest step.
We are conditioned not to hang up on authority figures.
It feels rude or even illegal to hang up on a police officer.
But you have to override that social conditioning.
Do not argue with them. Do not try to outsmart them or prove you know it's a scam.
Do not ask for their badge number. Just hang up the phone.
The longer you stay on the line, even out of morbid curiosity, the more opportunity their cognitive overload tactics have to take root in your brain.
Break the connection. Sever the feed.
Exactly. Hanging up is your strongest defensive move.
Once you have severed that connection, you move immediately to step 2. Tell a trusted person right away.
Remember, the entire architecture of the scammer's psychological trap relies on isolation.
They need you alone in your own head with your rising panic.
By speaking the threat out loud to a spouse, a friend, a coworker, or even a neighbor, you instantly break that isolation.
You introduce objective reality back into your environment.
Because the person you are talking to is not under the adrenaline rush you're experiencing.
Their prefrontal cortex is working perfectly.
They will look at you, hear that Interpol is demanding gift cards over WhatsApp, and they will immediately tell you it is a scam.
The spell will be instantly broken just by sharing the burden of the information.
Break the isolation. Bring in an anchor. Got it.
And that leads to step 3, which is where we secure the perimeter. Inform your bank immediately.
Even if you hung up quickly, even if you haven't transferred a single rupee, if you have shared any account details, confirmed your identity, or if you suspect your device might have been compromised during the interaction, you must act defensively.
Call your bank's fraud department. Tell them you were targeted by a digital arrest scam.
And ask them to freeze your accounts or place a high-level fraud alert on your profile.
Time is absolutely of the essence here.
It is always better to deal with the minor inconvenience of a frozen account for a day than to lose your life savings.
That is critical financial triage.
Step 4 is about civic duty and fighting back. File a complaint on the official National Cybercrime Portal.
Do not simply rely on walking into a local police station.
While local officers are doing their best, they may not always have the immediate training or jurisdiction to understand complex international digital fraud.
Go straight to the official, dedicated cybercrime reporting infrastructure provided by the federal government.
Provide the phone numbers that called you, the bank accounts they asked you to transfer money to, and whatever screenshots you managed to take.
You might not get your time back, but your data could be the missing puzzle piece that helps cyber authorities shut down a massive call center.
And the final step, step 5, is a preventative absolute that applies to almost all digital interactions.
Never share a one-time password and OTP, and never, under any circumstances, share your digital screen during one of these calls.
The scammers often use the guise of helping you verify your accounts to trick you into downloading screen-sharing apps like AnyDesk or TeamViewer.
Once they can see your screen, they can quietly steal your passwords.
Read your incoming OTPs.
And hijack your banking apps while you are distracted by the terrifying fake police officer on the camera.
To recap the armor, cut the call.
Tell someone immediately.
Inform the bank defensively.
Report to the official portal.
And never share OTPs or your screen.
As we reach the end of this incredibly dark but necessary deep dive, we have to synthesize everything we've uncovered today.
The ultimate takeaway from our source notes, the absolute truth that cuts through all the green screens and fake warrants, is this.
Fear is the biggest weapon of the scammers.
In fact, if you look closely, it is their only real weapon.
They do not have actual legal warrants.
They do not have actual legal warrants.
They do not have actual jurisdictional power.
They cannot actually arrest you.
They only have the fear they can artificially generate inside your own mind.
As long as you remain afraid, they keep winning.
So what does this all mean? It means that staying informed is not just an intellectual exercise. It is practical self-defense.
Understanding that these are scripted psychological operations, recognizing the mechanics of the scam as it is happening, the isolation, the overload, the pivot that is your ultimate armor.
You defeat them simply by refusing to panic.
You defeat them by understanding the game they are playing.
I completely agree. The knowledge of their tactics entirely neutralizes their power.
Once you see the strings, the puppet is no longer scary. However, looking at the sheer sophistication of this fraud and how effectively it hacks human biology and sociology, this raises an important question.
One that extends far beyond a single scam call about a Taiwan parcel.
We spend our whole lives and centuries of civilization teaching our children to implicitly trust and obey the uniform, the badge, and the legal system.
It is the absolute foundation of a lawful, functioning society.
But we are now rapidly entering an era where augmented reality, AI deepfakes, and advanced psychological manipulation can beam a perfect, flawless, indistinguishable replica of that authority directly into our bedrooms via a smartphone screen.
The clumsy green screens and photoshopped IDs of today will be the perfectly rendered, photorealistic, real-time AI police officers of tomorrow.
Their voices will be cloned to sound perfectly empathetic or perfectly authoritative.
So the profound, lingering question we are left to grapple with is, how do we reprogram society to instantly question the very authority figures we were raised to obey blindly without losing our civic trust entirely?
How do we teach vital digital vigilance without breeding a society of absolute paralyzing paranoia?
That is a remarkably heavy, lingering thought to leave on.
And a vital one for all of us to consider as technology continues to evolve faster than our psychology.
To you listening right now, thank you for joining us on this critical journey today.
You now have the knowledge to protect yourself, your colleagues, and your loved ones from the dark psychology of the digital arrest.
Share this knowledge. Talk about it at dinner.
Break the oscillation before it even starts. Stay curious, stay critical, And above all, stay safe until the next deep dive.